From fame to fraud, Elizabeth Holmes, disgraced founder and former CEO of Theranos, testifying in her own criminal trial for the second day, spending roughly the first hour of her time on the stand testifying about what she describes as successful studies done with pharmaceutical companies. But the government has alleged that Theranos doctored validation reports from two major pharma companies. Holmes faces up to 20 years in prison over allegations that she knowingly misled investors, doctors, and patients about her company's blood testing capabilities in order to take their money. Here now to discuss it, attorney Seth Berenzweig. Seth, good evening to you and good to see you. Elizabeth Holmes, when you see her in clips when she was CEO, was very dynamic, very charismatic, this kind of, Steve Jobs-like figure. At least that was the way she was trying to portray herself. How do you think the jury is going to take her, taking the stand, talking about not misleading or studies that were positive? What do you think the reaction will be to this?
Well, it's a huge risk. Whenever defense counsel puts on the defendant, it opens up the door to a very aggressive cross-examination. This is going to be fascinating. This is the highest level corporate fraud case presently pending in the country. And the prosecutors have put together a very effective case with a mountain of evidence that demonstrates, I believe, the requisite intent to defraud. Two quick highlights in that regard. First, for example, there was evidence that the former lab director walked into her office and basically said, look, this machine does not work. The technology does not work. And even though she was shaken, she still moved forward. Secondly, there was evidence of an alleged corporate fraud of a joint memo with the company and Pfizer trying to tout the positive elements of the test, even though the prior year Pfizer contacted the defendant and said, we'll take a pass, not interested, it doesn't work. So you have a mountain of evidence that she now has to climb over. And I think the defense put her on the stand because they have to. Yeah. It's really an uphill battle, so that's really what they're trying to do at the current time.
Yeah, I hear you with respect to her taking the stand. I kind of thought that she would, because I think that she thinks, she sort of drinks her own Kool-Aid, right? That's what I was trying to say. So I feel like she thinks that she could convince the jury. But I'm wondering, because it's a little nuanced here, for example, I really believe that she believed in her company. She believed in the blood testing kit. Things didn't go her way. Will the jury see a difference if it sort of was like it wasn't working out? She was trying to buy some time. It's still criminal activity, but that she was trying to work some things out through a process versus starting the whole company and never believing in the machine. It's a little different.
You're right, and it's very complicated, and I think that you very effectively captured a big piece of the defense in this case. They're going to say, look, she was a true believer, and I'm with you. I think at the outset she was a true believer, and she was trying to really change lives for the better. The problem is that by the time she got into, several years into the corporate enterprise, she apparently knew, allegedly, that it didn't work. Furthermore, her defense in this case seems to be very high risk and contradictory. On the one hand, as you very correctly stated, she's projected herself as very much in control as the CEO, but yet part of her defense is that her COO was abusive and really kind of pulled her along and pushed her into it. So that's somewhat inherently contradictory, plus the many years of texts between them don't support the story. So it's an uphill climb to be sure, and this is going to potentially be a warning shot into a corporate culture of fake it till you make it. So there's going to be a really big impact from this verdict.
Really quickly, Seth, how quickly do you think we could see a verdict?
Well, it'll come in a couple of weeks. The defense is going to be much quicker than the 11 weeks that the prosecution took, but I think the case will go to the jury sometime within the next week or two, and it's going to be wrapping up in the relatively near term.
Seth, good to see you. Thanks for your insight.
You bet.